Life. Oh, it's recording. Wait. Okay. Here's my 8 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is that it? Oh, 8. Say hi, everyone.
Hi.
Okay, I'm turning it off now. I'm Maggie Flolid, and today I'll be discussing first impressions. Carlin Flora, an author for Psychology Times, once stated that a first impression is a head-to-toe image that develops instantly and never entirely fades. This she related to first impressions. First impressions are something that every one of us will encounter numerous times in our lifetime. It's important that we learn positive ways to improve people's first impressions of ourselves and how not to be swayed by first impressions you may have of others. A review of research on the topic reveals that first impressions are a key step in the communications process. First impressions play a major role in the communications process because they are formed quickly and are long-lasting. Facial impressions are very impressionable, and yet opinions are possible to manipulate. Today I will share with you some research on how particular characteristics lead to first impressions, and also some of the both positive and negative outcomes of developing first impressions. First impressions are formed quickly and are long-lasting. In just 3 seconds, a person has formed his or her opinion about a new person. Nally Ambody, a professor at Tufts University in Massachusetts, calls these very first impressions thin slices of experience. In an earlier era, these thin slices could be life-saving because it would help determine if a new person was a threat or if they weren't. A researcher from Princeton University believes that we make our judgment about someone's attractiveness, likability, trustworthiness, competence, and aggressiveness in 1/10 of a second, and they can become deeply embedded in our minds. A study done at Fisher College of Business proposes that a bad first impression can be harder to overcome than a betrayal by a loved one. When we meet someone with an emotionally expressive face, we typically consciously sense his or her emotion very quickly, which can be a good and a bad thing. If you're fearful, people will sense that, and they in turn will become very uncomfortable or fearful themselves. It can also have a positive effect on people. For example, if you are smiling, others tend to feel much more comfortable. These rapid first impressions are swayed mostly by physical appearance, particularly facial expressions. In fact, one of the main things we looked for on a new person is a smile. Paul Ekman, a professor at the University of California, stated that from 30 meters away, a person can tell that another person is smiling. This is a comforting, positive feeling that we will feel immediately without even completely realizing it. A body of research clearly shows that appearance is an important facet for first impressions. Research published in Good Housekeeping magazine showed that 50% of a first impression is based on your appearance. Not just what your face looks like, but your facial expression, your posture, your clothing, and any gestures you may use. 40% is based on the tone of your voice, leaving only 10% of your first impression to be based off the actual content of your conversation. People may find a person threatening simply because of how you look, even if your face is in a neutral position. A study was conducted at Harvard Medical School to determine how threatening a person could be perceived by simply looking at a picture for a given amount of milliseconds. A group of 60 people were shown pictures of white males with a neutral expression, and they were put into groups. One group was shown these pictures for 26 milliseconds, the other group for 39, and the other group for 1700 milliseconds. And then they were asked to rate how threatening they believed that person was on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being least threatening. The results showed that 26 milliseconds is too short of a time to really decide the threat level of a person, but in just 39 milliseconds, the same faces were coming up as threatening between many of the subjects, showing that we find certain facial features threatening, and we use that in our first impression towards someone. A smile may be one of the most important influences on a new person you are meeting, but there are many other things a person can do to better their first impression. The first one being, try to keep, when you're meeting someone new, try to keep a full arm's length in between you and that person. Eye contact should be maintained 70% of the time. This helps to show that you're sincere, but if you do it longer than that, it can come off as threatening. If you're in a bad mood, do your best to fake being in a good mood because they'll remember you as being in a bad mood always. People like it if you speak at a similar pace to their own or if you mimic gestures that they're doing because people are attracted to people like themselves. And when you're giving a handshake, make sure it's firm and non-clammy. This will make a very strong impression. So in conclusion, first impressions play a major role in the communications process because they are formed quickly, can be inaccurate, and can be difficult to overcome. There are ways to boost your chances of having a positive first impression, and physical appearance plays a major role. Remember that you only get one chance to make a good first impression. Thank you.